Welcome back, Heroclix fans. Today I'm going to go over the X-Force team that I played in that tournament video, and I'm going to go over and talk a little bit about building an X-Force team and the benefits and disadvantages of an X-Force team. So when you're building an X-Force team, or any team in general, I have a few things to think about when you make a team, but this is going to be strictly for X-Force teams, but you can kind of apply it to most teams you build. Number one, you need to have a main attacker, someone that can dish out a lot of damage and has a pretty good attack, and you're going to be able to get into the battle quickly. Number two is a second attacker, a support attacker. This is going to be a figure that also is going to be similar to your first main attacker, but you're willing to have him die quicker than your main one. And he might not have the same stats as your main attacker. He might have a good attack but do a little bit less damage, or do less damage but same attack. Just something like that. Or it's a little bit harder for him to get into the battle. You just need two attackers. One main attacker and a second attacker. Number three, you need a figure for support that deals with stats. When I go that, I say like perplex, outwit, probability, something like that. And then number four, you need a support figure that can deal with movement, because the one thing that they do not have is a lot of movement, and they all are grounded figures. There's only two flyers, and that's Archangel and Siren. So you need help getting into the battle. The key things with an X-Force team, these are things that you're going to be dealing with, that you're going to have the benefits having an X-Force team. You're going to be stealthy. All these characters are stealthy. If they're not stealthy, they probably get stealth later in their dial, but most of them start off with stealth. Second, a lot of Blades, Claws, Fangs. Roll a d6. Whatever that number is, that's how much damage you do. Number three, you have the X-Men team ability, where you can heal clicks. You give a token to a character, and an adjacent character heals a click, and you roll a d6 on a result of 5 or 6. That character that gets the token does not take the damage, but if you roll 1 through 4, you have to take a click of damage, and you're basically just trading clicks. Very good with Wolverine because he can heal a click at the beginning of your turn. Number 4, you're going to have a lot of super senses. Number 5, there's a lot of combat reflexes. So those are some things you're going to have to be dealing with, which is good. You know, those are nice. Those are ways to be hard to hit and avoid attack. And number 6, you're going to have good attacks. All of these characters have really good attack stats. And number 7, they're very pushable. With the TA and their stats and their attacks, they're very pushable. Some of the negatives about building an X-Force team: there's no move and attack. Siren has run and shot. That's about it. Deadpool, the red suit Deadpool, has run and shot as well. Those are the only two that have starting clicks with move and attacks. They all have move and attack. Well, they don't all have move and attack. Well, Phantom X has run and shot too, but some of these figures do get charge or hypersonic later in their dial, but they don't start off with movement attacks. Number 2, they have generally low defenses, 16 and 17. 17 is not bad, but there's a lot here with 16s. Low damage stats. We have a bunch of 2s and 3s. 3s aren't bad, but there's no 4 damage. If you roll blades, you can get that, but you don't. You know, if it gets outwitted, you're not going to have a lot of damage out there. And number 4, average length of dial. A lot of like 6 clicks. There's a few here. Deadpool, Cable. I think that's about it. But Deadpool, Cable, they have a little bit longer dials. But mostly these figures have roughly about 6 clicks of health. Like I said before, there's only 2 flyers, so that's kind of going to hurt you a little bit. Not a lot of support figures. I have a couple here: Elixir, Domino, and Psylocke. Elixir with support, Domino with prob, and Psylocke has TK. There's an X-Force suited Psylocke that does not have TK, but the purple suit does have TK. And there's other figures that are like main attackers that have support. Leadership is on Wolverine, so that's a support. Deadpool, the red suit one, has perplex and probability late dial. Gray Deadpool, late perplex. Cable, late leadership. And that's it for support powers. Number 7, there's no tanks. Warpath is probably your biggest tank because he has invulnerability, but that's only for 1 click, and he has a short dial and once you get off that first click, he's just gonna go down. So really no tanks. Number 8, very few damage reducers. We have 1 click of invulnerability throughout this whole team, other than Cable late dial like Impervious and stuff, but that's, you know, we're not gonna count that quite yet. And then there's 1 figure of Deadpool, Phantom X, and Elixir have toughness. So very few damage reducers and no willpower. No willpower here. Cable, I believe he gets willpower late in his dial, and there's no Indom. So, like, you're not going to be able to do a lot of willpower. You know, not going to be able to do a second action without taking a click of damage. So when we talk about building a team, some of the figures that I consider first class attackers for X-Force would be both of the Deadpools, pretty good attackers, Cable, Phantom X, Wolverine, Archangel, and I still consider X-23 a first-class attacker on this team. She has really good stats. And second-class attackers will give you a good idea. Siren with a running shot, Warpath, Wolfsbane, and Psylocke. Support figures like I went over before, Elixir, Domino, Psylocke, and then more of attackers, Wolverine, Deadpool, and Cable. So this is the X-Force team that I played, and I'm sure you want to know why I built this team and what are the benefits of this team. So if I go through the formula that I told you before, my main attacker is the Deadpool. My second attacker and support figure is the Wolverine, because he's a really good attacker. Could be a number 1 attacker, but he has a leadership, so he kind of fills the support. For this team, Psylocke is a tie-up attacker. She doesn't actually fill any of the 4, but she is kind of an attacker tie-up piece. And Archangel is another second attacker in movement. So I get my movement, I get my support, I get my main attacker, and I have 2 second attackers, if not a third attacker. So I fill all my roles that I need for the team that I'm building here. And I was really going for the current X-Force team. The only reason why I couldn't put Phantom X on here is because it was 400 points, and he would even put me over 500 if I put him on this team. So I couldn't do that. The theory behind this team is to carry either Deadpool or Wolverine into action with Archangel. He would be tokenless, and then I would roll leadership. If I get the leadership, I give him a click, because on his third click here, he has hypersonic, and that white power is blades. Basically, you can use blades with hypersonic. You normally cannot do that. So that is what I was trying to do. Normally, with leadership, you would not take the click, but he gives the click. Actually, I was playing it wrong. You could actually do, like, take a token off of here, and then an X-Force character on top of the first one would have to take the click. And I was just doing the click only because I really wanted this guy to take damage. This is his third click. So that's really good. Wolverine also heals a click at the beginning of your turn. So he's very pushable, and this first 2 stats here are pretty much identical, super senses and blades. Then you get into charge, and you got that 3 damage here in the willpower. But he's a very short dial. Psylocke here is stealthy and mind control. You got the blades and super senses. She's not really doing anything major here. Like I said, through the dial here, we got in cap. There's an outwit. So we got some late support, but that's pretty late. You cannot count on that. And like I said, this is what I was trying to get with Archangel. Not very hard to get there. You get 1 push and 1 leadership, and you're right there. And Deadpool, I started off with him. You choose if you want to be ranged combat expert, and then you have combat reflexes, or you can have energy shield deflection and close combat expert. And all 3 of the games I played, I was ranged combat expert with combat reflexes, because with stealth, most likely they're going to have to get up close and have to hit that 19. But when I played the Superman team, he could see through my stealth, all of my stealth, so that was not good for me. But then you get some perplex here, second dial, regen right here, so you can push, get your regen back, regen again, then you're done. So he's, you know, a solid main attacker, range combat expert. You're doing 5 damage here. So that is what I was doing here. I was basically trying to get Archangel on his hypersonic click and, you know, basically trying to do as much damage as I could. Carry in Wolverine. Next turn, roll leadership, try to see if I can get a token off of him, then attack, and then fly away. I mean, that's basically what I was trying to do there. Have Deadpool come in there and Psylocke as well. 4-figure team, hard to do it, but that's kind of what I was going for with them. This was another 400-point team that I was thinking about playing. The main reason was because Psylocke here has the TK, and I was really going to abuse the TK with X23 because at the start of your game you can target a character and have +2 to your attack. She starts off with an 11, so if you get a TK from Psylocke, you know, using X23, you can get up to someone, and if you targeted them, you would have a 13 attack, and you would have blades. And then Domino here is probability, so just say you missed your attack roll, you can prob it. And then the next turn, we have another TK with Wolverine. And then once they're next to each other, he can use the leadership and all that good stuff. Now, you would have to do leadership at the beginning of your turn, but in theory, that's your options. Or, because this team has a lot of options, you can get the TK, boom, she's out there. Then you can also do the whole piggyback ride with Archangel and Wolverine here to try to get him on his hypersonic click, and you have Domino here for probability. This was probably what I was going to mainly do. I was going to run this team, this TK out there with blades, and then run the Archangel and Wolverine to get him to hypersonic, try to get the leadership to get him there, get him on perfect mode, and then Domino will be stealthy up the middle with probability to make sure the attacks stick, and before you know it, you're going to be eaten up alive. This team, I believe, is probably better than the last team. It's just this is not the current X-Force team, and that's kind of what I was going for. So I like this team quite a bit, and I feel bad for some people because they might see this. So my next team I want to show you, this is at 522, so you'd have to play a 600-point team to play this. This is the current X-Force team. You have Deadpool, Archangel, Psylocke, Wolverine, and Phantom X. Archangel, if you've been reading the Uncanny X-Force, is technically not on the team at the moment, but he is on the team. So this is the current roster, played a lot like what I was talking about too. You have the TK. You don't have X23, but you could say TK out Deadpool here, or TK out Wolverine, either one, and then you're gonna, I think you really have to use Archangel like I've been talking about because he's stealth, 9 attack with Quake, 17 with combat reflexes. Those aren't like numbers you're jumping out at you. It's the hypersonic click that really makes him amazing. And then like I said before, this Deadpool is really good. This is also another team at 600 points that might get some use. This is strictly comic book accurate team. You're missing about 78 points, so any of the X-Force members you can add on there. You can add X23 if you want to, or Domino for the probability. The options are pretty much endless other than 78 points or less to be 600 points. And for traditional 300 point team, this is 298 Deadpool and Cable. Nothing too spectacular here other than these are awesome characters and awesome figures. You can kind of do what you want to do here if you do not have the duo figure of these guys. I actually traded my duo figure because I have this Cable and I have this Deadpool. So I figured out what the heck, this is a pretty cool team up anyways. These figures do work pretty good together, but yeah, it's 300 points, 298, and if you want more, you want a 400 point, 500 point team, you just add on top of this. But these, you know, work pretty good and pretty fun. So thanks for watching my X-Force team building video.